What's up, boys and girls? It's CJ, your Vegas Insider, and we are going to start counting down our top 25 college basketball preview for the upcoming 2019-2020 college basketball season. I'm very excited about this set of videos. This is the best time of the year for me. I love betting on college basketball. More specifically, I love taking future bets on teams that Vegas may not be aware of that might be pretty good this year. And we definitely have one of those at number 25 in this video right now. I'm ranking them. I'm doing my top 25, not anyone else's, not the AP or Coach's Poll. This is the CJ Vegas Insider Top 25. And we have a few mid-majors in this list that have really, really good future odds that you could bet in Vegas and potentially make a lot of money. And the team we have at number 25 is one of them. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our preview, season preview for the number 25 Vermont Catamounts. Hey, it's CJ again. Just wanted to say that I do make college basketball and college football videos throughout the year. They're very detailed and give a wealth of information. I live in Vegas and I bet these sports a lot, so these videos come to you with a Vegas gaming perspective to them. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And, like I said, I post college football and college basketball videos throughout the year, and some of them might even make you some money. So here we go. Let's get started with the number 25 Vermont Catamounts. Let's go ahead and look back at the 18-19 season they had. They won the America East, and they won the auto bid to get to the NCAA tournament. They came in as the number 13 seed into the tournament. They lost to the number 4 seed Florida State Seminoles. It was a very close game. I remember watching this whole game last year because I actually had a really big future on Florida State. And this game scared me to death because I had nothing on Vermont last year. And Vermont gave Florida State all they could handle. They really outplayed them through much of this game. The reason Florida State was able to win the game in the end is that they were just too big at every position for Vermont. Vermont's a really good team. They're really well coached. They run their offense very well. They're very disciplined, and they even rebound pretty well for a small team. But they were just way overmatched compared to Florida State at every position. I think Florida State shot like 40 free throws in the game, and they made like 85% of their free throws, if I remember correctly. And they still only beat Vermont by 7 points. So that tells you how disciplined and how well Vermont plays as a team. Like I said, I thought they were a little small last year, so I wasn't very high on them. This year, it's a little bit different. As you're going to see as we go through the preview, I have every reason to believe Vermont's going to be a really good team. Like I said, I have them ranked. I went on to Google and did a search for preseason college basketball top 25. And nobody has Vermont ranked except for me. So that's going to tell you right now I'm either a genius or I'm an idiot. You're going to find out from these videos that I have on here if I know what I'm doing or if I know what I'm talking about. My results betting college basketball have been very well the last, I'd say, 5 years or so. So I think I'm doing okay. But with videos like this where I put a team like this in the top 25 that nobody else has ranked, well, you'll see if your boy CJ knows what he's talking about. It's pretty simple there. So anyway, they did lose. Vermont did lose to Florida State in the first game of the tournament. They were 27-7, 14-2 in the America East. And, their coach, John Becker, is an excellent coach. He has a 193-84 record at the University of Vermont. Let's go ahead and go through the players that have departed from last season. All they lost was one of the Duncan brothers. It wouldn't be a Vermont squad if they didn't have at least 2 or 3 Duncans on the team. The oldest brother, Ernie, he graduated last year. He is gone from this year's team, and he was good. He averaged 13.8 points per game. He was a really good shooter from deep. They will definitely miss him, but he is the only player of really any note that's gone. They did lose a couple other guys off the team last year, but they lost one guy who averaged 3 points a game, one guy who averaged 2.5 points a game, and they were both forwards. And as you're going to see coming up in the video, they're going to be replaced with definite upgrades at the forward position. So that's nothing to worry about. Duncan was a key loss, but let's see what we have returning here for this season. As you see, you have the Conference Player of the Year. Anthony Lamb was the America East Player of the Year last season, averaging 21.2 points per game. The guy's an absolute stud. He's a 6'6" wing type player. He could shoot from the outside. He could create his own shot. He could drive to the basket. He's a complete player. He's a good rebounder for his size, tough, physical, and shoots a lot of free throws as well. So, yeah, obviously, if he averaged 21.2 and he was the America East Player of the Year last year, and now he's getting a bunch of help on the roster this year, which will actually, I think, free him up to be even better and more efficient this season. I think the sky's the limit for this guy. I think he's a potential, or not a potential, I think he's a future NBA player. I think you'll see him drafted next year, and he will make an NBA roster. He's that good. So it's very exciting to have a guy of this caliber returning to your team. He is a senior and provides a lot of leadership. Also, you have Steph Smith, junior guard, coming back. You have two of the Duncans, Robin and Everett, are coming back as well. Everett's a 6'6" senior guard, got good size for in the backcourt there. And some other guys of note too. Isaiah Powell, a 6'6" forward. I think he'll back up Anthony Lamb a lot, kind of at that wing small forward position. But he was really good as a freshman last year. If we look into his numbers, he played 18 minutes a game as a freshman, and he averaged 5.5 points and 3 rebounds. So he was a quality reserve last year for Vermont, and if he progresses and takes that freshman to sophomore leap, I think he can really help this Vermont team a lot this year. Another guy is Ben Shungu. Now, he only averaged 4.3 points last year, but he was an outstanding shooter. He averaged 56% shooting from three-point range. So obviously, this is a guy that he needs to get more shots. If I have a guy averaging 56% three-point shooting and he only averages 4 points a game, that just tells me he's not shooting enough. So we'll see if he can make a jump this year from sophomore to junior year. Maybe they can run some more sets for him, get him some more looks from the outside. But hey, at 56%, he should be able to stretch the defense for guys like Anthony Lamb. So let's talk about what Vermont has incoming. We have 4 freshmen coming in to the program, 3 guards, 1 forward. The freshman class is led by the Oregon Gatorade Player of the Year, point guard Aaron Deloney, or Delaney, I'm not quite sure how you say it, but he's the highest recruit Vermont has ever gotten. He's only a 3-star, but for the America East, to get the Oregon Gatorade Player of the Year, that's a huge get. And also, he'll fill a need because I think he'll be a quality backup for Steph Smith at the point. So I think he'll see a lot of playing time this year. Now, Daniel Giddens and Duncan Demuth, who are transfers coming in, were higher rated recruits in high school. Daniel Giddens was almost a 5-star. He was just below a 5-star recruit. I think he was ranked like 35th overall in 2016, the 2016 class, when he committed to Ohio State. But as far as just freshmen who came straight from high school to the University of Vermont, this kid, Aaron Deloney, he's the highest recruit the school's ever gotten. So that's exciting there. It just shows that Vermont is getting on the map as a quality college basketball program. Let's talk about the 2 incoming transfers we have here. We have Daniel Giddens, a senior. He, like I said, he was a very high 4-star recruit, borderline 5-star recruit, signed with Ohio State originally, left Ohio State, went to Alabama. He didn't really develop as you would think for a guy of this caliber of a recruit at Alabama. Now, maybe just the system didn't fit. Maybe it's Avery Johnson's, he has something to do with the fact that he didn't develop this guy. But he is a grad transfer, playing his last season here at Vermont. And it kind of reminds me of a guy that, and this just tells you that I follow college basketball way too much. I remember a couple years ago, Western Kentucky got a grad transfer named Dwight Colby, who was a very highly rated 4-star recruit coming into Kansas. He basically was a very little used reserve, which is a nice way of saying he sat the bench for 3 years at Kansas before he finally transferred to Western Kentucky. And then he ended up having a great season at Western Kentucky. He was one of the top players in Conference USA. I think he averaged a double-double or close to it at Western Kentucky. I think Giddens is going to be that kind of player this year in the America East. I think the America East is going to have a very difficult time dealing with a guy like this. 6'11", 240, rim protector, athletic, shot blocker. I think he could flat out dominate this conference in the post. So I'm very excited about what he brings to Vermont. Duncan Demuth was a 3-star recruit for Oklahoma State. He transferred out of the program last year, got his eligibility to play this year, which was kind of a surprise. I thought he'd have to sit this year, but he's eligible to play. So you're adding a lot of size, which I thought was the biggest weakness of this team last year, was just the actual physical size of the roster. But now you got a quality 6'8" forward and a quality 6'11" center coming in. I think the America East is going to have a very difficult time with these guys down low, not to mention Anthony Lamb, a quality backcourt and a quality coach as well. So I would not be surprised to see this team go 18-0 in the conference this year. If they do any worse than 17-1 in the America East, I'd be very surprised. Fun fact for you Vermont fans, you probably already know this, but your team is 45-3 in the America East over the last 3 seasons. 45-3 in conference play over the last 3 years, that is absolutely phenomenal. And you have your best team yet coming this year. So 17-1, 18-0, that's what I'm looking for from this team, and that's why I have them ranked, whereas nobody else does. If Vermont finishes with a total record coming into March Madness, say of like 29-5, 30-4, something along those lines, they are going to be a ranked team. Just think about Buffalo last year, Wofford last year. Nobody had them ranked coming into the season. And I will admit, Wofford completely snuck up on me. And last year I was very, very high on Buffalo. I had 2,000-1 futures on Buffalo. They finished 32-4 last season. So, and they were ranked all season long. They were ranked in both polls all season long. And I can see Vermont replicating the same success that Buffalo had last year. I could see Vermont being this year's Wofford, this year's Buffalo. So let's go ahead and put up the non-conference schedule here. I don't put up the conference schedule just because these videos would last forever if I tried to take all the games on their total schedule and break them down. If you're a fan of the Vermont Catamounts, you know they play in the America East. You know who your rivals are: UMBC, Albany, Stony Brook, Hartford, I believe, is in that conference. So, I mean, you already know who's in your conference. You already know who you play. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is put up the non-conference schedule here so you can see some of the key games that they have in the non-con. And Vermont did a really good job of scheduling in the non-conference. I think they absolutely gave themselves a chance to get an at-large bid this season. Usually a team from the America East is going to have to win their conference tournament to be in the NCAA tournament. I don't believe that's the case for Vermont. I think you can get an at-large bid without winning your conference tournament just because of what we see here on the non-conference schedule. So this isn't the entire non-conference schedule. This is just some of the games that could be classified as either Quadrant 1, Quadrant 2, or Quadrant 3 wins. And then the ones in red are key. They have 2 non-conference games at Virginia and at Cincinnati that can absolutely make an at-large case for this team to be in the NCAA tournament. And I'm going to tell you right now, at Virginia and at Cincinnati games, they're going to mean a lot more to this team than they're going to mean to UVA or UC. UVA is going to be in the tournament regardless. There's just no doubt about that. But so this is the biggest game all season on Vermont's schedule. And I think Vermont has a really good chance to show up and pull the upset in this game. I really do. Nobody's going to think they can win this game. But if you look at the style of play that Vermont has, you know, Virginia's style gives a lot of teams trouble, but Vermont plays that same kind of a style. As you're going to see when I put up the statistical numbers in a second, Vermont plays a slow pace. They grind you down. They defend you. They work the ball. They take care of the ball. That's a recipe for success against a team like Virginia. So I absolutely give the Catamounts a shot to pull off an upset in that game. I may even bet that game if you give me enough points when we get there. We'll see on November 19th what the point spread is, what the over-under is. I might put out an alert that you might want to get on this. Maybe get on the under is what I'm thinking. But there's a long way between now and then, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Also, the game at Cincinnati on December 3rd. I think Vermont's a better team than Cincinnati. Now, it's going to be tough to go on the road in their building and deal with Jaron Cumberland, who's one of the best players in college basketball this year. And I would expect Cincinnati's going to be favored in that game playing at home. But if you just put the rosters side by side this season, I like Vermont's roster. It would not surprise me at all if Vermont can win this game. If they can just get one of these road wins, that will be a quadrant one win that will get the committee's attention come Selection Sunday, assuming that they don't get the auto bid, which I think they should anyway. But and if they can win both of these games, then you're talking top 20, top 15 ranking all season long, possibly. Let's go ahead and look at the other games. At St. Bonaventure's not an easy game. That's probably a quadrant 2 win. St. Bonaventure will be decent, like a middle to upper tier team in the Atlantic 10. At Bucknell, maybe a quadrant 2 win, possibly, maybe quadrant 3. But Bucknell's always in the upper tier of the Patriot League. At St. John's, I don't expect St. John's to be a very good team this year, but if you beat a Big East team on the road, even if it's the 9th or 10th place Big East team, it will get people's attention. That game is on Fox FS2, so you can see that game televised. The UVA game is on the ACC network. The Cincinnati game's on the CBS Sports Network. Now, all of Vermont's games, if you can get the radio station either on the internet or whatnot, all of their games are broadcast on 101.3 The Game. So you can definitely check out all of their games, which is great. Other than that, the schedule just breaks down that they start with a lot of games on the road, then they end the non-conference portion of the schedule with several home games. I didn't put all the non-conference games on our virtual whiteboard here. I didn't put the Mohegan Sun tournament that they'll be in because the 2 teams that they will be facing are pretty insignificant. They play Central Connecticut State at the Mohegan Sun tournament, and then they play the winner of Rider and Columbia. So that neither of those wins is really going to register. Rider might be okay, but it's not enough to move the needle as far as the committee's going to be concerned, I think. They start off with a lot of road games. They end the non-conference portion with several home games. They play Towson, who might be a pretty good team in the Colonial this year. I think you'll see a lot of improvement from them in the Colonial. UNCG, Greensboro is always a good team. They play in a really good mid-major league called the Southern Conference. And, Wes Miller's doing a really good job with UNCG, so that's a decent home win. You play Lipscomb at home, who actually probably handed you your worst loss of the season last year. You went on the road and played him. You didn't show up and got beat pretty badly. So this is a good revenge spot here. I would expect you to win this game easily at home. And then you play George Washington on December 31st, and you start America East League play on January 8th with Stony Brook. Also want to mention that on November 27th, you play some school called Gallaudet. I believe that's how I'm pronouncing it correctly. I don't know. Gallaudet, Gallaudet, whatever. I have no idea who this school is. Division II, Division III, something. This is basically a glorified scrimmage, so I didn't even bother putting it up. I'm pretty sure I could grab 4 friends from the local park off the court, and we could probably give Gallaudet a run for their money. So anyway, that's the non-conference schedule. Let's go ahead and break down some of the numbers from last season, which I would expect to improve this season since y'all have a better team, at least, on paper going in. Scoring offense, 73.8. Scoring defense, 63.0. That's a margin of almost 11 points a game. That's very good. Their scoring defense was 17th in the nation at 63 a game. First in the America East. That's excellent. So you got to love a team that defends. The defense should be even better this year with 6'11" Daniel Giddens manning the middle. He's going to be an elite rim protector in this conference. So I would expect all the efficiency numbers to increase regarding this team, which is one reason I'm so high on them. Field goal percentage defense are both very good. 3-point field goal percentage at 36% is pretty good. They're an excellent free throw shooting team, 74.8%. That was first in the conference and 39th in the country. So 39th in the country is not bad when you consider there are 353 Division I teams. So they're in that top 10% tier as a free throw shooting team. That's obviously very important come March time if you want to hold on to leads and win games and survive in advance. Good free throw shooting is a big bonus to have in your back pocket there. So I like that. Rebound margin, plus 4.2 per game. That was second in the conference. That's pretty good considering how small they were last year. I would expect that to improve this year, again, for the same reasons. They've strengthened their front court. They're bigger now. So that number could even go up. And then turnovers, only 11.1 per game. That was first in the America East, 35th in the country. That's excellent. What I look for in a team that I want to bet my money on the futures is I want to see 12 or less turnovers per game. If you're turning the ball over 12 times or less, then you have a chance to win every game. You know, you have a good point guard. You're playing smart. You're taking care of the rock. So at 11.1, that's very good. And just another strength of this team. Okay, so again, to summarize the strengths and weaknesses of this Vermont team. Strengths are the tempo. They dictate tempo. They take care of the ball. Their shot selection is almost always really good. They're a good rebounding team, and I expect that to improve since they're bigger this year. They play great defense, and they're a great free throw shooting team. Those are all strengths. Weaknesses, I put size and assist rate. But neither of these may even be a weakness. Like I've talked about over and over again, their size is improved. So I don't think that'll necessarily be a weakness. As long as Giddens stays healthy. They don't have any true center backing him up. If he were to get hurt or to get in foul trouble, then size, again, could be a weakness of this team. They wouldn't have a player taller than 6'8" if Giddens were to get in foul trouble. So that could be a potential concern. But I think as it stands now, it's not really a weakness. And as far as assist rate goes, I think between Steph Smith and Aaron Deloney coming in, I think they'll be fine there. The reason their assist numbers aren't that high, their assists per game aren't that high, is they play at a slower tempo. So as long as they're not turning the ball over, which they don't, the assist rate really doesn't bother me. So actually, to be honest, the more I've researched this team, the more I've looked into them, the higher I am on them. I really don't see any potential or glaring weaknesses on this team whatsoever. Let's just hope they can stay healthy all season. I like them so much that I bet, full disclosure, I've put a lot of future bets on Vermont this season. I got them at 2,000 to 1 back in May, back in June, when the Vegas Sportsbook started putting up future odds for this season. I just think the Vegas Sportsbook have no idea how good Vermont can be this year. So I saw 2,000 to 1 as soon as the futures came up, and I was betting it. I probably bet it at Westgate about 9 or 10 times at 2,000 to 1 before they finally lowered it to 1,000 to 1. I still think there's a lot of value here at 1,000 to 1. I like them so much I went on eBay and bought the hoodie. I'm going to be rooting for this team all year. I have a basket of teams that I've already bet on in that 1,000 to 1 range. I just need one of them to make a deep run to make me some money. I think Vermont has a very good chance of making a deep run. So I get excited and I go out on eBay and I buy some team gear. To be honest, I've never even stepped foot within 1,000 miles of the state of Vermont. But yet this year, they're one of my favorite teams. So I'm going to be following them and pulling for them and making videos about them all season. I think there's still some real value on them at 1,000 to 1. So if you're a fan of the Vermont Catamounts and happen to be in the Las Vegas area, get down to the Westgate, maybe put a 20 to win 20,000 on the Catamounts. At 1,000 to 1, I really like the risk reward here. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Maybe give this video a thumbs up if you're a Vermont Catamounts fan, or if you're a fan of money and think I know what I'm talking about and letting you know that 1,000 to 1 has some value here. The next video we're going to preview number 24. We're going to keep the countdown rolling. I know I got to get these out quick because the season's about to start. And just a little preview, number 24 is another mid-major team. It's another high value, high odds to win the title team that I think can be really good, that I think people are sleeping on. So we'll look forward to that. Have a great day. Thanks again for watching, and go Catamounts.